Hi, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to review a book I finished, and this book is called The Red and the Black. It's by Stendhal. This book is set around 1830 after the Napoleonic Wars have ended. The hero is Julian Sorel. We begin with him as a young man who's born in the lower classes. Now he does exceptionally well in school, and as we work our way through the pages of the novel, we find him advancing in life. He's from a very small town, but he gets associated with one of the wealthiest men in town, who's the mayor, and works for him. Then he works for this mayor and does very well. The mayor is a very busy and preoccupied man, mainly occupied with wealth and status. And his wife is neglected. And as the novel progresses, Julian and the wife form a relationship, which becomes a carnal relationship. This causes problems because she's committing adultery, and because Julian is from a lower class of society and the mayor is considered from a higher class. So that starts one of the main distinctions of the novel, which is the disparity between the different classes in French society at that time. You may have heard the term the three estates. And at this time, there were considered three estates in France. The first estate was all the people in the clergy. The second estate was all the people in nobility. And the third estate was all the people who were workers. So Julian Sorel is from the third estate. And as he is a servant for these people in the second estate, though he has the mind and the heart of someone from the second estate, he lacks the background. His background is from the third estate. This is where his conflicts and frustrations occur between him dealing with his identification with a lower estate. He's friends with a priest who gets him a job in Paris. He can begin to enter into this first estate, the clergy. Well, he gets a job as a secretary for this high-ranking figure in Paris. And he realizes how lucky he is to be living in Paris and be learning all the things he can, to have money to spend, to be growing his reputation. So he kind of just wants to keep his nose on his job, but he encounters the daughter of the monsieur that he works for, and their relationship begins to develop. So that's the basics of the story. But one of the novel works on many different levels, and I should stress that this is what I call a perfect novel. When I've read a lot of books, and I get used to reading books, and I feel like at a certain point you feel like you've read all the best books out there. One of the great things about this novel is it was a surprise to me how great it was, and it was such a pleasure to find a great novel. And after I was basically halfway through, I felt this novel was going to rise to the top of my favorites list. The second half of the book fulfilled my expectations, and I rate this novel highly. The characters are well developed, the plot is well developed, the writing is excellent, The atmosphere is excellent. You learn about society, you learn about history, you learn about this young man's imagination. Yeah, and it carries out throughout the novel. You're always aware of Julian's emotions and how he's insecure, how he's confident, how he's impulsive, how he's cautious, how all this wide range of emotions that he has is just miraculous. The way that Stendhal is able to put so many subtleties of the human character into one character named Julian Sorel. There's a way that you could read this and approach it in a very serious way about the discrepancy between the different estates. But there's actually, I think, a scene that has not been called out before, and that I think is very funny and kind of mocks the different classes in society. And there's a scene around page 250 where Julian goes to this restaurant and this big man keeps insulting him and gives him dirty looks. And Julian gets very upset and he starts to he confronts this man and they have some angry, insulting words. And Julian, he says, who are you? I want to fight a duel with you. So the heavyset man throws down his calling cards at Julian. And then Julian, the next day, he looks at the address. It's in a very nice part of town. And he goes to see the man who lives there. So when he goes there, he's led into this very opulent sitting area. And he's made wait for the man to come out. And so the man comes out, whose name is on the card. And Julian realizes this is a different man than the man who he was arguing with at the restaurant. Julian kind of backs off and he says, wow, I don't need to fight this guy. And so the man is a chevalier. When he's leaving, he leaves the house, and so he gets in the carriage of the chevalier to take him home, and he looks at the driver of the carriage, and that's the man who he was arguing with the night before. So he immediately attacks the man, and they are fighting to the ground, and then causes big commotion. The chevalier comes out, and there's a big kerfuffle, and then the chevalier thinks that he must have a duel with Julian. So then they arrange the duel, the very quick duel with pistols. The chevalier, during the duel, shoots his pistol at Julian and hits him in the arm. Now, that is a foreshadow for an event that occurs later in the book. But the funny part of this is that after the duel is over, the chevalier did not even know who Julian was. And the chevalier finds out that Julian is just a secretary. He's from the third estate. And so he says to himself, I'm a chevalier, and here I am, I've fought a duel with someone who's such a low-class secretary. I could be put up for ridicule because I treated that secretary as a person from the second estate, and he did not deserve to be treated that way. And therefore, the chevalier made friends with Julian, and he invites him to the opera, and they became friends because the chevalier wanted to preserve his stature as a man from the second estate. And so it's actually, I think that scene is a very funny scene because it shows the pomposity of the nobility at the time. And if they took someone from the third estate seriously and were fooled, they had to help that person rise to their level in order to justify their respect for them, because they didn't deserve the respect. And that occurs again when Julian gets involved with the daughter of the man he's working for in Paris. It's an outstanding book. And one more thing I wanted to say was about the three estates. As I said, the three estates are, the first estate's the clergy. The second estate is the nobility. The third estate are the working people. Now, later on, when the press developed, it was called the fourth estate. There's been the origination of the fifth estate. And the fifth estate would be people on BookTube. We're outside of these other societies. We should recognize ourselves as a significant class in the society of our times. So that's all. That's what I have for today. And I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.